Hi everyone, my name is Frankie Senevek and I'm a student council advisor at Wydown Middle School in the Clayton School District in St. Louis. And I'm excited to tell you a little bit about how we did virtual teacher appreciation this year and how you can do the same. So during Teacher Appreciation Week last year, typically our student council gathers messages of thanks from students during lunchtime. We put out cardstock and templates and students can fill out messages to as many teachers as they want. Then our council sorts them by teacher and passes them out at the end of the week. Because we weren't at school during Teacher Appreciation Week last year, my council worked to recreate this experience virtually. So here's a little bit about what we did. So here's our process. We first gathered some messages using Google Forms. We made some templates using Google Slides. We then organized the thanks using our data from Google Forms, and then we sent out our messages of gratitude using email. So first we had to gather our messages. We needed our thanks. So we did that using a Google form. So on the form, all of the important things that we had were your name. We needed to know who was sending the messages, who they would like to thank. We actually included a list of all of the teachers and staff in our building, and then we also put a slot for other in case there was someone that we missed or someone we weren't thinking of that might needed to be thanked. We also added a space for students to add images or drawings or pictures, and then at the end, making sure there was a link to submit another response. So the settings that you need to make sure you have clicked on your form are that it collects email addresses. In case the name doesn't match, you want to make sure you really know who is sending this in. You want to limit it to students in your organization. You always want to show a link to submit another response, encouraging students to thank as many teachers as possible. And then you want to update that confirmation message. So here's what our form looked like. We had a little bit of a message, just kind of explaining what this was about, space for their name, who they would like to thank, space for their message, and then a spot to upload an image. These are the settings that we set on our form. So we wanted it to collect email addresses, restrict it to students in my organization. We didn't want them to edit or see the summary, but we did want to show the link to submit another response. And then we changed the message so that students knew they could thank as many teachers as they wanted. So next we had to create the template. How are we going to get these messages to these teachers? So these are some of my absolute favorite resources for finding pretty put together templates. So Slides Carnival, Slides Mania, and Slides Go. I chose one of these for us to use, and then we kind of deleted the slides, and so we just had a few to work off of. We wanted space for the teacher's name, a message just from our student council thanking them, and then space for the student messages as well. And then we created a copy of this template for each teacher before we pushed out our form to gather data. So this is what it looked like. We appreciate you, and then space to put their name, our generic message from student council, and then spaces for messages from the students. So once we had this, now it was time to send out the form and get that information. So once we had all of that data back, we had to get the message from the form into the template. So I can go into my form and edit, and under the responses tab, we created a spreadsheet. So it allows us to easily see all of the messages that we have for teachers. And then you can sort that by teacher name. Once it's sorted, you could easily copy and paste the information from the form right into their slideshow and add it to their presentation. So once we had all of that put together, we had to send off our messages of gratitude. So we did that just by copying those messages, adjusting the format, and then emailing the teachers with a specific slideshow linked just for them. We share the slides in present mode, and it helps it just kind of appear final and put together so they don't see all of the editing that went into it, making it happen. So here's our generic email that we sent. So just good morning. Student council typically asks students to share words of gratitude during lunch. Since that wasn't possible, we gathered virtual messages instead. Then this is hyperlinked to their presentation that pops up right in presentation mode for them. So that's how we did it. Here's how you can do it. So attached in this document, there's a spot for you to make a copy of the form template so you can use and edit it, a spot for you to make a copy of the slides template so you can use and edit it, and then a copy of the email template and how exactly you're going to get it to present mode. So let's work through how to make this together. So here's the sample form template. So I created this header in Canva, and if you want to know more about how to create custom Google Classroom headers, feel free to email me and I'd love to share that with you. Just a message asking you to share the love. Please submit your message by. You want to make sure you put a due date. It's really important that there's a limit on this so you have time to organize the data. So a spot for students' names. Who would you like to thank? So this is where you're going to put a list of all of your teachers. If you have a list from Google Sheets or Excel, you can paste it right here. Otherwise, you're just going to type them in. So I might have Mrs. Teacher and Mr. Teacher, and let's see, Mrs. Principal, and then you just continue on with that. So then there's space for them to record their message. And then I have this, if you'd like to include an image, upload it here. So this is a spot for students to add files if they want to. And when you go to this file upload question, you'll notice that I just have image selected. That makes it a lot easier for you as well. It's also not a required question, so that's not required for them to upload an image. Once your form is ready to go, you send it to students. So you can send it. My favorite is to just copy this link and email it out to your whole student body. This could be sent from you as the advisor or from a principal or a secretary, some way for students to get this. So we can preview this form and fill it out to get some data. So my name, I'm gonna say it's from Frankie, and I wanted to thank Mrs. Teacher. So let's see, thanks for being awesome. If I wanna attach a file, I can do that. So I took a picture earlier on my desktop that I'm gonna go ahead and put in there as well. Then I can submit that. Once I've submitted it, I have a chance to submit another response. So maybe I also want to thank Mr. Teacher, you rock. No picture for this one though, and then I'll just submit it. I can go back then to my form and I'll see that I have data in my responses. So I'll come over here to my responses. You can see it's all from me, who I've thanked, and then I can see a list of the messages below. You can look at it this way. You can also look at it by individual to see exactly how it got filled out. What you'll really want to do though is go over here to create a spreadsheet. You'll create a new spreadsheet of your data. And now it's nice and easy to organize. If we had multiple teachers, we would want to go ahead and sort that data. So I'll show you just how you can do that. You're going to highlight everything you have. We're going to go to Data, Sort Range. Thinking about it. Has a header row, and we're going to sort it by who would you like to thank, that teacher name, and then it sorts it from A to Z. So I can see all of the stuff in order. So Mr. Teacher has one message, and then Mrs. Teacher has one message as well. So now we've got to get that to the templates. So if I look over here, I have my template right here. So I'm going to make a copy for each teacher. So I'm going to go to File, make a copy of the entire presentation. Here, it's really important that you rename it, or you're going to have copy of, copy of. So let's have Mr. Teacher, Teacher Appreciation. And I'll go ahead and make that copy. It'll pop up right here for me. Once it does, I see that it's Mr. Teacher. I want to then change this first page so I know that this is Mr. Teacher's presentation. So Mr. Teacher, thank you, Mr. Teacher. And the rest of the slide should be popping in shortly as well. Earlier, I made a copy of Mrs. Teacher's also, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Mrs. Teacher's too. I can then come back here to my data, right here. It's loaded, the joys of the internet. Okay, so Mr. Teacher's message was you rock. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that, come over to my Mr. Teacher slides. I'm going to arrow down and then they should start popping up. There we go. So here's our message from Student Council. Here's where my message goes. So I'm just going to highlight that and paste it. So you'll notice that it doesn't come up in the right format. So you might need to go in and change the font to make it a little bit bigger, and you can play around with that as well. So for Mrs. Teachers, we had an image here too. So here's her message, Mrs. Teachers. So we'll go ahead and put in her message. And let's make that font match. Let's make that about size 50. Thanks for being awesome. Then let's say I want to put the image on this next page. I can go back here to my data and see that image is going to be right in my drive. So if I open it, it's going to put it in my recent pictures, which makes it really nice. So there's my picture. I can go back to Mrs. Teacher, put on that same slide, insert, image from my drive. And there's my heart picture so that they know that message is from me. So there we have it. So there we have Mrs. Teachers. So once we're ready to send it out, we're going to start a draft of an email. So here is my email draft. And if I'm sending this multiple times, I'm going to have this just saved as a draft so I can copy it and paste it each time. So we appreciate you, Mrs. Teacher. I'm getting ready to send it to Mrs. Teacher. So I'm going to go to Mrs. Teacher's presentation, and here's where the magic really happens. If you sent it and then opens up like this, it's fine. You can still see all of the messages. I'm going to delete that. There's no message there. But what I can do that's really cool is change this to present mode. So do you see this word edit at the end? I'm going to delete that edit and everything behind it. And instead, I'm going to type present. When I do that, it now pops up in presentation mode, which means it'll open that way. And I can just see those messages right like that. I just think it looks nicer to open something that way. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that link, go back to my email, and then I'm going to paste that right over here as a hyperlink. So there's my hyperlink. I'm going to paste it to that presentation and say, okay. So now when they open that link, it'll open up in present mode and be nice and pretty, ready to go. So as soon as you've got that, you can go ahead and press send on that email. And there you have it. So thanks so much. I hope that that helps you think about ways that you could do teacher appreciation differently. I also see lots of application for this kind of form gathering as well. You could use this for staff shout outs throughout the year, perhaps not during Teacher Appreciation Week or other times. You could use this to gather messages for Principals Appreciation Week or Counselor Appreciation Week as well. And I definitely recommend having the kids on your council help you with this as well. Whether they're the ones copying presentations, finding the list of staff, copying data over and formatting the presentations, that's a great thing to do. You can do this all on your own, but use your council kids as much as you can to minimize your workload. If you have questions or need help getting things set up, please go ahead and send me an email. I'm happy to do a Google Meet or Zoom with you to help you get this set up or just answer questions over email. Thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your day.